We will gladly accept huge risks to our personal safety for the sake of a discount. That was the entire premise behind the McDonald's dollar menu. And that is just one of the many flaws with how this well-intentioned programme was designed, because everything about it, from who participates to where the money goes to the incentives it creates, needs fixing. And let's start with the fact that eligibility for the programme is determined through floodplain maps. You are required to buy flood insurance if you have a federally backed mortgage and FEMA's maps show that you live in a risky area. Unfortunately, the mandate has been poorly enforced, meaning that lots of people don't buy insurance who should, and the maps themselves can be both out of date and wildly inaccurate. In fact, just days before Harvey struck, a study of Houston area flood maps was published, and the results were alarming.
Over the course of a decade, researchers at Rice University and Texas A&M Galveston studied one section of Southeast Harris County. They found FEMA's floodplain maps missed about 75% of the damages from the storms.
75%? At that point, you might as well predict floods by having blindfolded six-year-olds pin little cardboard puddles onto city maps at birthday parties. But even if all the maps were perfect, there would be another flaw with the NFIP, which is how it's administered. You see, typically, the government doesn't directly insure you. Instead, it pays private insurance companies a fee for every policy they sell. But not just that. The federal government is then responsible for covering any losses, which is a pretty fucking sweet deal for those companies. They take none of the risk, and yet they get all the rewards. But it gets even worse, because they also get paid for each claim they handle. And when Frontline crunched some of the numbers and presented them to a former head of the programme, they found something shocking.
There was one number that really jumped out. With all the claims in the wake of Sandy, the profits were more than $400 million.
Because they're handling a lot of claims that year, and they make a lot of money when they handle claims.
When a big storm hits, then they make more money.
Yeah, at the very time you need them to make less money, if anything, because of the burden is going to be borne by the taxpayers. They make a killing.
That's true. For insurance companies, the bigger the disaster, the more they stand to profit. And that is a business model not usually seen outside of Nicolas Cage's career. And while the insurance industry may dispute exactly how much profit they make, the fact remains that the government and the taxpayer are definitely the ones eating the losses, which is one of the reasons why, even before these latest hurricanes, the programme was $25 billion in debt. And there are not enough roseate spoonbills in the world to take your mind off that. And just to be clear, there are exactly enough roseate spoonbills in the world. I'm just saying, do we all really need more of this? Hey kids, come see! The dirty pink dinosaur is noisily devouring its young! And look, there is a good argument to make that helping people stay in their homes after a disaster is what government is for. But remember, a big chunk of that money is just going to the insurance companies, and another shockingly big chunk of that money goes to very few homes. For instance, along the Gulf Coast and Florida, just 1% of properties covered by the NFIP have accounted for a quarter of flood claims. These are called the so-called repetitive loss properties. Now, they are homes that can flood over and over and over again, getting payments each and every time. And some of them are costing us a fortune.
Just recently, an article in the Washington Post highlighted a home in Point Coupee Parish that has flooded 40 times. While the house is valued at just $56,000, the NFIP has doled out nearly $430,000 to cover flood claims.
So that is just stupid. Because if nothing else, if your house floods 40 times, Mother Nature is sending you a pretty clear message, and that message is, hey, would you mind leaving? Some weird fish would like to fuck in here now. And some parts of the country have particularly extreme examples of this. Now, you remember Mitch and Daniel? The pastel death trap that they were looking at is on a place called Dauphin Island, where over the past 2 decades, homeowners have paid just $9.3 million in premiums into the NFIP, but they've received $72.2 million in payments for their damaged homes. It is so bad that the island got written up by Bloomberg under the headline, "Love of Coastal Living is Draining US Disaster Funds." And at first glance, we thought, hold on, isn't that the exact same eyesore on stilts that Mitch and Daniel almost bought? Well, the good news is it's actually not. The bad news is it's literally the